I'm into editing videos and things of that nature, and I like to do it hand by hand, manually. Nowadays, they have software that edit can edit your video for you, and I don't know how I feel about that because I kind of like to get in
Mm,
there and chop stuff up. Do you
mm,
think videos could go the same way where we have AI developing video games?
mm. It depends on what kind of video. I think video that involves storytelling, and real storytelling is about touching people's emotions.
I'd like to welcome you to the Corner Office Chronicles podcast. My name is Byron Benton, affectionately known as Byron the Product Enthusiast. This is dedicated to product management and entrepreneurship. So please, lend an ear, perhaps two. Tune into today's episode.
All right, everyone. My name is Byron Benton, and I am your host today. Today we have a special guest. She's a gaming extraordinaire, gaming professional. She has a lot of knowledge about this particular industry, and I would like everyone to journey with me as we learn more about gaming itself. So we have Mrs. Wei Yin today. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast. I'm looking forward to it, to have some like interesting conversation going on with you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, thank you. I like that particular enthusiasm.
Yeah, yours
I'm very,
too.
yeah, I'm very enthused, and I reached out to you. Definitely want to know more about you. Well, I know a bit about you. I want others to know about you as well. And as far as the gaming industry as well, if you don't mind, how long have you been in it?
So I've been working gaming for almost 4 years now.
Okay, okay. What made you, get into that particular industry?
I would say it's part luck and part of my experience and expertise. So I studied advertising when I was in college, and I was like doing advertising for like beer, for like diaper. I mean, it's cool work. Like I wanted to get into a creative industry, but I realized I want to market for something that I'm personally passionate about. And at that time, that was art. So I went to Carnegie Mellon and learned arts management. And luckily, after I graduated, I landed a job, like a perfect combo, like doing creative work in an arts organization for a couple of years. And in so that arts organization, it was an art school in Seattle. And while I was working there, being a creative manager, I observed like a lot of times, our front desk will got phone call from people like asking questions about how to register for a class. And we have tons of art classes, maybe like hundreds of them. So it's hard to decide like which one suits you. And the registration system isn't working on the website. So I was thinking like, oh, that's a lot of waste of woman like manpower and money for the organization. What
Mm.
if we redo the website and to clean up that user experience for our potential students? So that's what I did. And I didn't know like that was UX design at the time, but that got me into UX design.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think it's because my background in both art and design, that's like gaming, it's sort of artsy, like it's not like Uber or Airbnb, it's like not utility focused. And I think and Rockstar approached me that time, and I luckily I got into the company, and I've been in the gaming industry since.
yeah, yeah. Let me ask you. Um, how important you think a good website experience is to the success of a company or a game, uh, etc.
Mhm. Well, it really depends on different types of gaming. That's a very good question, and it's actually something that I'm trying to figure out on my like as a designer. Like, what is the website's role to a player?
Hmm.
And we've done experiments. Like initially, we think, oh, website could be a cool extension of your gaming experience.
Mhm.
Like when you're playing Grand Theft Auto or any other game, right? You as a player want to be fully engaged in the moment, like in those actions.
Mhm.
Um, but like in a game like where you want to manage your resource, like manage your inventory, and in Grand Theft Auto, like shop for a car, um, that flow is like um disturbed.
Mhm.
Um, when you have to stop looking into the catalog in the game, looking at all different cars. So we were thinking, what if people can do that on a website or like to do any other like more less engaged game activities on a website.
No.
So that's something that we thought about. We did some experiments, like some turns out to be good, some not as what we expected. So that's part of the role that I'm still exploring as a website, like how that can play with players playing journey. Another aspect will be more like business focused. Like GTA, it has GTA Plus. So making a landing page explaining what GTA Plus is, what the membership does to players, um, and like that fulfill a function of like marketing, like and content management for players.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you. Let me ask you. How important is the correlation between, uh, let's say, when it comes to designing the website, maybe the user experience and the visual aesthetics of the games? You think there's a correlation?
I would say in the gaming, there is, especially. That is my experience, like when we were looking at candidates to hire as a designer in our company, I realized like what's different from a pure tech company is that we put a lot of focus on visual appearance,
Hmm.
which may seem unnecessary, actually, when you're using an Uber app, maybe when you are using an Instacart to buy, like to do a grocery. You don't necessarily, as a user, pay attention to, oh, how does that icon look like? Or how does that animation, when you click on it,
But
like
that
look
color,
play? You don't let like you don't care. But what surprised me is like as a player, when you're in like a game playing, like a player user, they put a lot of like when we did the license plate, we got feedback about, oh, how cool the 3D looks, like the texture looks on the license plate. So I think visual appearance really play a much bigger role in the gaming industry compared to the other.
okay, okay. I think about let's say Web3 websites. I kind of wonder, um, do you think that those type sites would be used more in the gaming industry? Or do you think Web3 is kind of like not a fad, but do you think, it never really blew up like AI did? So
Mm.
that would be interesting. And I spoke with people before, and they, know a little about Web3, but it just seemed like Web3 for me, it seemed like more crypto. I don't know. Do you think that could be used more in the gaming community?
Mm. Uh, yeah, I think it's more about because I myself personally I'm very suspect about overusing like interactions.
Hmm.
And in Web3, like all the scroll animation, like oh, I've been looking into different kinds of website like that just crazy scroll. It scroll things like falling down and fade it out, like a video like expand. Um, I think we're at a exciting moment where the website can do cool stuff. You don't have to do it in the app. Like website Web3 gives us ability to render like complex animation. Um, as a designer, sometimes I lose control because that's fun to design. But I think the core is to find the purpose of each interaction.
Hmm.
So that's something I try to ask myself like to make it delightfulness. Like that's kind of like delightful. That's vague, and we need to look deeper, like case by case. Like when I'm doing this interaction, what is the intention behind that? Like what I want users to notice. Um, but I don't believe in like just throughout like visual candy or eye candy, just do it for the sake of looking cool. Um, yeah, I don't believe in that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let me ask you, what are some of the most important things that I don't know, not necessarily metrics, but what we're trying to reach when we create these particular websites? Is it something that's engaging that maybe multiple people could play at the same look at it at the same time? Or is it something maybe, I don't know,
Hmm.
family friendly? Maybe it depends on the game too, though. Because I particularly like Mario and people like
Yeah.
Xbox and things of that nature. But I don't know. It's like a good family game. You can kind of you could be an adult playing with a kid, and it makes perfect sense. I don't know. I kind of like the way they bridge that. But let's
Mhm.
say with the website, how do we measure the I guess the customers and how engaged are they from a website? Is it maybe customer feedback? Is it how
Mhm.
can we measure that?
I think in the from my experience, like when we do website, like website in the game industry is not the core focus. Like it's not in the spotlight
Mhm,
of the product. So it's more playing a role of like the driver
mhm,
to push players or to give players a more engaged experience with the game.
mhm,
So that's a tricky balance that I'm trying to strike as a designer is not like the final goal is we don't want players to spend tons of time and energy on a website,
mhm,
like playing game, like our game related stuff. The ultimate goal is to drive them back into the game and to make the game itself, the experience more rich.
mhm.
Um, so that's how we're trying to measure. Um, like when we do, like say, for example, the license plate feature that we did on the website. Um, we like for that product is more straightforward. Like we are seeing people placing license plates. That means they are more engaged. Like they spend more time customizing their vehicle in the game.
So Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, Grand Theft
Oh,
Auto.
okay.
Um, but let's say just hypothetically, uh I wanted to do a feature where like players can also drive a car on the website.
Yeah.
And it provide like different kind of like scenario, like you drive in a space or like in like uh and that's the question that we want to ask is, oh, is this replacing the game or is this like being playing conflicting to the
Mm,
game. Like
yeah.
we are turning our players apart. Like, oh, where do we want to? It's like two different kinds of products, you know. So
hmm
I think that's the fine line we want to draw when we do website for a game product.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you,
Yeah.
do you think that, and I mean, who knows what the future might entail? Do you think that it may have it where there are in there aren't any more consoles and it starts on a website and then people play the game directly on their laptop? What you think is that a
For
possibility?
VR or AR, yeah, that could totally happen.
Hmm. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so as well. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where to go, but it ought to be interesting, And then I wonder if that happened, will we put more emphasis on the I don't know, because at that point, I guess it'd be a website slash game. I don't know, be interesting. But
Oh yeah, and it can be like a combining and can be just one thing. Yeah, I can see that it'll evolve. Like maybe the controller isn't looking like a controller anymore. You can just use your fingers and
maybe.
and everything is on the screen, and then you look into some like kind of glass and you can just tap based on like where you tap on in yeah, it could be like that.
Okay. All right. Can you walk us through the process of designing a website? Are you thinking about certain things when you design,
Mm,
or are you mainly
mm,
are you thinking about customers when you actually design? Are you thinking maybe more
mm.
making it look really pretty? You think? Well,
I think looking pretty is always like on top of what we want to make sure the website functions or like serve its purpose. Like for example, for the GTA Plus landing page I did in Rockstar. So that's a landing page talking about like what the membership is about. So the whole process look like so from the beginning we want to check with different stakeholders because I am not the person deciding what the membership is,
mhm,
what are the key points, the value proposition that we want to convey to our players. So that's something we use like tool like things like wireframe uh, to figure out the page structure. And then after we're very clear about what content we want to go, so we want like 4 points, 4 value propositions, and under each value propositions, we want like a like content, like several content block to support that value proposition. Okay, that's the structure of our page. So I will wireframe that up and to align people like, oh, that's the content. And then we will be moving forward with more high fidelity design. So I paired with a UI designer, a web designer, and together we figure out like different ways to showcase that structure.
mhm.
Um, and then we'll get like several rounds of feedback. Um, and at that point is when we talk about, okay, how we make it look cool, how we make it not look like a SaaS landing page, landing page talking about Monday, or like how do we more look like it's very exciting product. Uh, yeah, we have very talented designers in the team who are very great at that. So I pair with them, like figuring out the scroll, like how uh the sticky, like we have a sticky left part and scrollable right part on the page that serve the purpose of like this value proposition had these sub content underneath. And it's like a very interesting animation as well, like interaction. Um, so that creates sort of like delightfulness. At that point, we are trying to add more like visual coolness into the page.
Okay.
Then after that, we wanted to check with our production team and art team because we are not the person who are going to make all the images and the copy
Mhm.
and content team as well. So we want to check with them all. Can we provide like we need this 4x3, 2x1 image, like for mobile and for different breakpoint. We may also want a 1x1 for this and when it changed. And they will evaluate if they have bandwidth to provide all that assets to us. So there will be some adjustments happening there if like they're like, oh, this is too much work. Can you do something design wise that can reduce the work? And at that time, then we will like the design gets more and more high fidelity and also the content and assets locked down. And then I would pair with an engineer. So the product manager would connect me with an engineer, and I will go through like what we need and how many components we need for the website. And how these components change across breakpoint, and I will pass on this handoff, like design specs to them. And sometimes they will have like questions like, oh, actually, wait, this doesn't work, or then we will have some back and forth, and then we launch afterwards. So that's typically how the process look like
Yeah.
for designing a web page, a
Yeah.
landing page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you. Let's take it away even from games in general. What because I've done websites before as well. A definition of if it's a good website is I guess in the whoever's looking at it. What makes a good website in general? Not necessarily a game website, but just from creating websites in other industries as well. What in your definition? What makes a good website?
I I think a good website, when you are landing it on it,
Hmm.
as a user, you are very clear at first glance, like what the website want you to do or want you to know.
That's a great answer.
Uh, yeah. And then when I scroll and leaving the website, um, I have a feeling of uh even like happier or like more content, or I learned something, or oh, I learned about a cool product, or uh, a cool story. There's some takeaway, like one takeaway from the website. Yeah, then I think that that's a good website.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I
Mm.
definitely agree. And you spoke a little bit about getting product managers involved. Kind of curious, um, do the marketing team ever take a look as well to make sure that this is what you know, or so they can put their little spill in it as well? How do you collaborate with different departments? Do you
Mm.
collaborate with different departments as well?
Yeah, I think product manager will be like the core person that connect engineers, content creators, and designers and other stakeholders. So how I work is I always go through them to connect with the other part. Um, and product manager will have all the context about one project.
Hmm.
And as in, like, how do I collaborate with others? I always try to stay, um, I wouldn't say humble, but to be aware, like there are unknowns that I'm not unknown about. Um, well, because sometimes, uh, as a designer, you will get like requests like, oh, that's so simple, like just create a component. How hard is that? Like it sounds like an hour work. And it's not. I noticed because before I become a designer, I was that person, like telling people, like, this is so easy. Like, I feel like you can just do it in 1 hour. And not until like I become that person, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, now I know. Like to create that one component, yeah, as a designer, you have to think systematically, like how things will break, different breakpoints, like how many words we need, like those logistics. So I try to apply that same mindset. So that's a lesson I learned. So I try to apply that to when I interact with any other person, like as an engineer, like why are you not making the final design look like 1 pixel, 2 pixel like off from my original design, instead of like saying, oh, you're slacking off, like you're not like paying attention. Um, I try to like understand like what could be like the complex, like the code base may be a mess, or like they may have like other dependencies that I'm not aware of, like making this actually hard than I expected. So I think that has benefited me a lot. I think two benefits from that. I think one is the other person will feel less defensive, like, oh, I'm trying to understand and not just to judge. And second is I learned things along the way because they are more open to share. Like, oh, the way, like why we cannot make this animation the way it is because A, B, C, and D, then I get to learn like from their perspective. Then in moving forward, I know like when I'm designing similar things, I know what to look out for. Um, so I think that's has been worked really well so far. Um, and also from the business level too, like when we talk with stakeholders, sometimes they will have things that on the surface level, we're like, well, what do I think about? That doesn't make sense. But if we ask more questions, like why, then oh, that makes sense. It's like a for person too. Like some people like see this person is so not easygoing, like so hard to hang out
Yeah.
with. What's up with that?
Uh,
And then but after you learn their backstory, like how they grow up, like how like what are the challenges they face when they grow up, then you get to understand like, oh, that makes sense. That's the way that they are. And then that make the relationship better. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. 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 Let me ask you. Let me ask you. How important is speed? You think when it comes to
Uh,
a website? Because let's say if I was playing a video game, and I'm thinking something fast, and now I get on the website and the page is
mhm.
loading low. Load is slow. It doesn't even match the video game. How important do you think speed is when it comes to like a good website in
I
general?
think it's very, very important. But that's not something that I need to worry about. It's more like engineers need to worry about.
Yeah.
Our audience, fortunately or unfortunately, become more impatient because nowadays the world is filled with different digital content, and all other sources are trying to grab your attention as fast as they can. So we do lose opportunity if like, oh, we have cool visual or cool animation, but the rendering takes so long and take a second for the page to load. Um, from my experience, that's unforgivable.
Yeah.
So that's why like we have like testing team like to always make sure that things will load
Yeah.
as like fast as. So yeah, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Uh, if people don't have patience nowadays
No,
for
no, 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 no.
for this
Especially
kind of
especially
thing.
with social media. I mean, people they get 15 seconds
Yeah,
for the whole message. They don't even give you
yeah.
30 minutes. A lot of times, like you go to hit them with the punch. You know, right in. They don't even let you
We're
wait.
all very spoiled. Okay. Yeah.
What about a sense of community nowadays? How important is that for like not only
Mhm.
just a game, but just for a product in general? I've seen people. I was in Walmart the other day and they had a Sonic the Hedgehog hat. And I was like, I almost got that hat. And I was like, I grew up on Sonic the Hedgehog. How
Mhm.
important do you think a sense of community is? Do you think a website can add to that?
What do you mean? Like, I don't
Like
quite
just
like.
like maybe like a sense of community, maybe in the future, man, I don't know, maybe more games. I hear that they have their own forums, they have their own just sense of community where people feel
Mhm.
like I guess they kind of revolve around that particular game or around that subject matter.
Are you talking about like community from players'
Yeah,
perspective
yes, yeah,
or?
yeah. From just anybody that likes the game, from players' perspective, from people talking about
Mm,
the game, from etc.
mm. Um, player community, that's the I think the core focus of a game company. Like besides the things that I talk about, like how the website can play a role in like for a game product. Um, like that's another area that I want to explore is like how like when you play a game, you run into a problem, into an issue. Um, Not that like you don't know what to do. Like there are a lot of like tutorial or like guides if you're like stuck, but more like, oh, if something happened, a glitch, or like there's like this invisible wall I just cannot run through. Um, like if imagine like a game company can support every player, like when you have that problem, you, I don't know, submit a ticket or you talk with a chatbot and you got the problem solved right away. Um, that'll that's what we were talking about, like about like making the game the focal, like the core product, and make users re-engage with the game.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, we have a like a team who manage player community, and that's uh that's something that I think every game company is putting a lot of focus on. Because in like this social media, digital era, people get information about a game. Like me as a player, I I follow like game influencers. Like how I know about a new game or a game that's worth playing is not through a game's website.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go to like right game and search for like, oh, the top game. It's like, oh, this YouTube video pop up. This guy that I like, he's talking about the new games that I should play. And then I look into that and oh, I should play it. So, uh, like they're very essential to both players and game business. Mm.
Okay, okay. Let me ask you. That's gonna cut off in 7 minutes, 6 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how what part do you think AI plays right now, and how far do you think it's gonna go? Is it gonna stifle creativity? Is it gonna help? What do you think?
Mm. I'm more positive when it comes to AI. We talk about that all the time, and I go to like different events and listening to designers talking about it. I do agree like we're using AI. I don't think like creative industry is where we do that. It'll be cool if AI can do our laundry, do our house cleaning instead of like making image and video, it's like more high leverage there. I've been using AI a lot, like ChatGPT,
Yeah, me too.
for my personal projects and stuff. Um, so far, I think it has helped me to carve more time for the most creative part of my work. I think for current AI, the downside is you still have to prompt, like in the prompt, you need to give them a lot of context
Hmm.
for them to make a good answer. Uh,
Quality, I'll tell you.
yeah, for
Quality
you.
prompt.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and and design is about context. I mean, like if in ideal, like a vacuum uh state,
Hmm.
you can create a website by your own, like very fast, or a feature by your own. But the thing is, if you want to scale, you have to work with other people,
Hmm.
and then there will be different opinions. And I think that human work um is not, I think far, far away in the future, AI won't be able to be capable of. But if say, like I want to make this specific animation or doing this specific, this making this box moving, and I don't know how to do it, then AI is a very good tool for me to figure out all those more like objective and tasks.
Yeah,
Um, so I think in general, like to summarize, it helps me as a creative,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Me too. I think it helps. I mean, it definitely makes almost everybody's job easier. I mean, it could be used in so many different industries. Um, let me ask you. I'm into editing videos and things of that nature, and I like to do it hand by hand, manually. Nowadays, they have software that edit can edit your video for you, you know, and I don't know how I feel about that because, you know, I kind of like getting
Mm,
there and chop stuff up. Do
mm,
you think videos could go the same way where we have AI developing video games?
mm. It depends on what kind of video. I think video that involves storytelling, and real storytelling is about touching people's emotions. Mm.
Yeah, definitely agree.
I mean, I feel like that emotion, like how that storyline, like story arc, or how that touches our souls, that's decided by human.
Hmm.
Say like in that storyline, there is this scene I wanted to do something specific. I think that AI would come in and do that role. Um, but I understand like what you were saying about like as a designer too, like as a craftsman, we're craftsmen, like we like to make things like handmade. It's more almost like a handmade website, you know.
Hmm.
And AI is like making this website like Amazon produced product versus like it's a chair, you know, it's like a handmade wooden chair.
Yeah,
There's a like mass production,
there's
you
an
know,
AI
wooden chair.
influencer. There's an AI influencer now as well. Kind of interesting. Uh, so,
Yeah.
so we got 2 minutes. Let me ask. Let's try to fit most of your questions in. If anyone wants to see your work or get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Oh yeah. Find me on my I'm very active in LinkedIn. Just search Wei Yan Design and you'll find me. Or if you're a designer or product manager or like in the tech in whatever in the creative industry, ADP list. I like to meet new people, mentor, and being a mentee there and share experience for with whoever are interested. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So last question. You have any, and if we could do it in a minute, any tips for up and coming website designers or people that want to get into the gaming industry?
Tips. Um, I would say stay creative. Now I'm like having a habit. I'm trying to have a habit, I would say. I've been doing it for months now, is to record a moment every day, like a life-changing moment, or not life-changing as in like, oh, I got into a car accident and blah blah blah, that crazy, but it's like a realization um every day. And I think that's like we talked about AI a lot. I think that has helped me to be connected to my human part.
All right.
Like I just had my daughter 6 months ago, and there are a lot of like tiny moments in our life we tend to ignore. Um, and I try to like those down. And I think every day becomes more different than yesterday, you know. And I think that, yeah, that will be my one tip.
All right.
And that has helped me stay creative and being touched with my human side, so I can be connected to my user's human side. And that's what you know UX designers do. It's
All
to
right.
make machine human. Yeah.
All right. That's a perfect ending.
So thanks for watching today's episode of the Corner Office Chronicles podcast. Again, my name is Byron Benton, and I am your host, affectionately known as Byron the Product Enthusiast. Please like, subscribe, and tune in. Until next time, thanks for watching.